Everything good.
All right, guys, we are back for another exciting episode of the hashtag Wednesday Match Play, and I am excited is an understatement about tonight's guest, only because of the fact that it took us about a half an hour to figure out how to even get him to hear me, and now that he can hear me, he probably regrets that. But tonight we're going to talk about a side of the game that we don't usually think about, and we don't think about it because we don't practice it, and it's the mental side of the game. And tonight's guest is, I guess you would say, obsessed is the word, obsessed with the mental aspect of not only having a good, strong mental game, but also practicing that mental game. And versus me trying to sit here and explain it, I'm going to introduce you to Thom Kaz, who is from Mental Edge Golf. And it's weird because he spells it really wrong. He put an H in there. Did you realize that you spelled your name wrong?
Well, what happened with that was, when I was born, it says Thomas on the birth certificate, right? And what's interesting is when you look at Thomas, it's Thomas. But when you take the as off the end, it's still Tom. But people say thumb for some reason. So, and when I was doing my thing in the billboards and stuff in Vegas, Thomkaz was a little sexier than Tom. So I looked kind of British, and I could act like I stole from another country or something like that and get away with it. So anyway, yeah, that's the story behind the name.
That's awesome. Well, before we get too far into this, because we have a ton of questions, and this episode of the hashtag Wednesday Match Play is presented by Eat Sleep Golf. And I actually got the chance to see Eat Sleep Golf a few minutes ago, and we had to kick him out though because we didn't want to have to look at him all night. But
you didn't have a pass.
Let's just say we jumped into an elevator. You got a couple of minutes. Tell me what you do, what it is, and how it's going to help me as a golfer. Pretend we just met, even though we did just meet.
Did just met. Well, essentially, Mental Edge Golf takes the traditional information and the understanding of the mental game and brings that to a new dimension by adding an application component. I've spent 25 years learning how to train the mind in peak performance using different things such as hypnosis, sports hypnotherapy, NLP. And so what Mental Edge is really a combination of traditional education, some principles and mindset aspects. But then we have an application component that's very unique. So when we work with our clients, whether it's on our online program or in a one-on-one coaching session, our goal is to actually train their brain and give them tangible feedback and tools to get them to change the behavior at the subconscious level. Because at the end of the day, this is the game you learn consciously and you play subconsciously. And when you do the research as you have with Tiger and other players, you find out they've used sports hypnotherapy or other meditation or guided. Jason Day is a perfect example. So my goal was to bring that to the forefront and bring some of my 25 years of experience to the golf world in a way that could be easy for the masses to afford it and access it. Because there's very few of us out here that quite honestly understand what that is. And unless you're a professional or a high-level college player, you don't get access to those guys. So I wanted to make it more affordable and more accessible, and that's kind of what Mental Edge Golf is and what we're about.
Well, that's awesome, and it's something that we were talking about this before we went live. I don't practice period, but I don't practice the mental side of it, and that is the side of it that, as I played high school and college golf, that I thought about is why I wasn't as successful as I could have been. Sure. I've started to think more about how I behave on the golf course and how I play 1 through 18, and I don't get anywhere near as mad as I used to, and I'm playing some of the best golf of my life. And I don't getting mad it is a part of the mental side of it, and it's something that I'm really intrigued with. And we've only got 30 minutes tonight, but I know that our relationship is going to continue after this, and I'm excited to get to know more about what you do with the mental side of the game. So, Eat Sleep Golf wanted to know, is the Mental Edge training program a one-size-fits-all solution? Does everyone go through the same program, or is it customized based on specific mental strengths and weaknesses? That's a great question, too.
This is a great question. Thank you for that question. It's a very good question, and I'll tell you the answer. What we do is we do a couple of things as part of our process. Whether we have an online client or we have an offline client, we have them go through an assessment process that provides a 26-page report. We utilize the DISC profile, which tells us how their tendencies, their strengths, and weaknesses are. And from that, we can kind of guide them as to what to do in the program. When they're using the program, for the most part, the online program, there's a series of 15 educational tracks. We call those audiobook modules. There's some ebooks that have some questions and things that you could do to identify certain tendencies and thinking patterns out on the course and during practice. And then once we've gone through the assessment and once you've gone through the initial audiobook modules, there's 14 tracks that are designed. They're 20 minutes in length. They have special binaural beat music. They're designed to guide you into that optimum state of relaxation where your subconscious is more receptive. Now, from your own experience from working through the assessment, you'll be able to identify where the areas you want to strengthen are. It could be your focus, it could be your concentration, it could be confidence, it could be putting, whatever it may be. There's 14 different tracks. And so then we'll customize it by having you go through and identify with us your initial challenges. And then we'll focus you in on the tracks that you need to be using on a daily basis to, retrain your brain and teach yourself how to get those new belief systems to be consistent with the performance. So it's a little bit customized, but we have all of that online available for anyone, and we try to help guide them based on their assessment and their personal goals.
That is awesome. So, okay, well, would you offer the same thought process, and would you have the same advice for a 25 handicapper as you would a scratch golfer?
It depends, because sometimes you might not have the physical skill set to match up with your handicap. You might be a great player, but you might both have similar problems. As an example, a lot of people get very nervous on the first tee when they're with their colleagues and there's another group waiting. You're over a putt and you're thinking about making the putt more than just making the stroke and just letting it happen. So, everybody, it's not a one-size-fits-all program, but the way that I designed it was I wanted to give everyone a baseline of information and some real tools that they could listen to and learn to use out on the course. So you might be a 25 and you might be a scratch golfer, but your problem may for both individuals be pressure and tension in your shoulders when you're trying to make a shot, maybe overcompensating, maybe not mastering your emotions. So it might be a differential in skill set, but the problem can still exist even if you're a better player than a worse player. So at the end of the day, the same problems can exist, but the skill sets can match up and they can improve based on their mental ability to get their skills dialed in at their level of play.
See, now this is really interesting to me personally, because I feel like when those, the first tee with a group watching, or, a 6-foot putt to save par, to make birdie, to beat your buddy or whatever, I feel like that's when I play my best.
Right.
When I have to do something. It just happened this past weekend. I was standing on, it was the 16th tee or the 17th tee. It was the 17th tee. I needed to par out to be able to shoot the number that I wanted. Well, I bogeyed 17, and I was like, well, I guess I got to birdie 18 to shoot the number that I wanted. And sure enough, I did. I birdied 18 because I knew that I wanted to beat the number that was in my mind. So I honestly, and I would almost think that guys like Tiger and Jason Day and Jordan Spieth and these guys at the top of the echelon play that same way. Like when they know they have to shoot a number, they go out and they do it.
Yeah, and I've had an opportunity to work with David Toms, Brent Snedeker, Haynes Snedeker, a lot of great players, both at the collegiate as well as the professional level. And then I've also worked with a lot of coaches, Coach Knight out at UNLV, and had a chance to listen and learn from them about what they see. And I'll tell you what's interesting is great players, they don't have to force it, they let it happen. And the more you try to make something happen, the less it happens, right? And you have to be process focused. You can't be outcome focused. We've been conditioned our entire lives to be pass or fail, win or lose, fast or slow. We've got to be in a process mindset no matter where we are on the course, no matter what shot we're making. We've got to be in that present moment focus. And great players have learned to keep their emotions at check, keep their mind and their focus on what they need to do. And if they try to force it, there's a lot of examples I could give you, not in 30 minutes, but at the end of the day, great players have learned this skill to eliminate distractions. And if you've been watching Jason Day, as I have, Jason's using one of the things in our program called the focus band to actually see how his brain functions during practice. When he's on the first tee or when he's on the tee box or making a shot, if you watch him, his eyes close and you see him kind of blink into a REM state, he's visualizing the shot, he's sensing what he wants to create, and he's making that happen. Great players do that instinctively, but it has to be learned just like driving. You have to do it on purpose first, and then it becomes part of your process. So great players can do it automatically, and they can set those distractions aside mentally and just let the flow happen, and that's when they start playing their best golf.
So who on tour has the best mental game? And once upon a time, in my opinion, it's not because he's, in my opinion, the greatest of all time. I would have to say that Tiger had one of the, if not one of the, the best mental game ever. But right now on tour, and you might say Jason Day, but who has the best mental game on tour?
There's different ways to quantify that. Bubba Watson grew up right down here in Baghdad, Florida, about 45 minutes from my home. And Bubba has a unique mental game because he's never really taken a lesson, but he plays by feel, he plays by touch, and a lot of that is intuitive, right? So it's a mental thing for him. He doesn't have to, he just sees it in his mind and he sets up his body and he creates it in his feel and he just does it, like the shot at the Masters, right? The big hook on the Masters. But to me, I think, honestly, after meeting some of these guys and talking to them, I really think Jordan Spieth's mental game is what's really stepping him up. I mean, if you looked at what happened when he was playing in the Open, everybody was complaining about the greens, right? And Jordan said, if I complain about the greens, it's going to set me up for failure. I'm just going to play the golf course as it lies. And look what happened. He ended up winning, right? Great players have the ability to focus on what they need to do at the moment. And I've watched Jordan. I watched him a couple of years ago. In fact, last year when he was in a playoff, and he made a shot, and right in the backswing, somebody made a picture, and he heard it, and he didn't stop and reset. He just made the shot. It set him off. Patrick Reed ended up winning that hole, and they went to a playoff. But what I heard him say in the interview was very insightful, and I talk about this in the program in a video, is that he said, I knew what had happened. I should have stopped my swing and started my pre-shot again, but I didn't. I made the swing. I mishit the shot, and it took me out of contention. But now that it's happened to me, I'll know what to do next time. At the Masters, it happened again, the one he won. And he stopped, and he reset, and he made the shot, and look what happened. So what's interesting is when you watch a young player that has that kind of calmness and that type of, he learns from his mistakes very quickly, look what he's accomplished. So to me, I think Jordan's mental game, Jason's a close second, Bubba's a unique third, but I'd say Jordan right now does have the best balance.
So we've heard it's 70%, it's 80%, it's 90%, it's 100%. What, in your opinion, and this may not be an easy answer, in your opinion, what percentage of the game is mental?
The closer you get to the top, the more mental it becomes. If you're an average player and you're out here, what I call, grabbing and going, right? You're just grabbing a ball and smacking the heck out of it on the range, or you're just putting away. You tend to be more focused on your stroke and your swing and the ball flight, right? But the guys that are the best, and to give you a perfect example, I was at a tournament one time and there was about 100 guys lining up on the range. And there was one guy on the grass, and he stood behind the shot, and he made the shot, and then he would take a pre-shot, he'd hit the shot, evaluate, go back. He did about 20 or 30 really quality shots, but he used this entire process. Everybody else was just popping balls into the, to the green and popping them off, and he was just hitting quality, not quantity. So to me, the higher you get, the more mental it becomes, because everybody has talent at the top, right? So I would say for most players that are average players, 60 to 70%, a lot of it does have to do with their physical skill set. But the closer you get to the PGA Tour, the more mental it becomes.
So for a new customer to the Mental Edge program, what will the step-by-step process look like? What will they go through? So explain that when I say, hey, what is this? What's that process going to look like for me?
Well, simply put, when they go to the website, what we do is we have a program that we put a little special package together for you guys this evening that are watching. But essentially, when they get to the program, when they sign on, they buy it, they're going to get access to our online learning system. Within that learning system, there are going to be some videos to watch on what we call the 10 steps to get in the zone, because there's things that you can do to enhance your ability to enter that peak performance state. There's a couple of ebooks. One is 10 steps to get in the zone. The other is taking your game to the next level. There's the 15 audiobook modules, which are also covered in the ebook. And then of course there's the what we call the Advantage section, ADVANTEDGE, Advantage. And those are the tracks that you listen to with headphones and kick back, relax, and literally let your mind go and just train your subconscious on the areas that you're trying to improve in your game. So that's what they can expect, is education and application. And they have the ability to reach out to us and take the assessment, which is an optional piece, but they can do that online, and they instantly get a 26-page report to share with their coach. And we actually give them a 15-page report that's specifically for their coach to learn how to train them better, how to teach them better, because everybody learns differently. So that's what you can expect, is a process of education, application, and then access to myself and my team to ask questions about things directly, so we can work with you and guide you in the right direction.
Man, so I have to think that, and I know a little bit about your past, and I have to think that your time spent hypnotizing individuals, and I want you to talk about that a little bit. And I know you're trying to separate the two from what you're doing now with the mental side and the golf side of things, but tell me a little bit about your history. And you mentioned the word in Vegas. So tell me about what that happened, what that was like, what you did, and how that transitioned into what you're doing now on the golf side of things.
Sure. Okay. Well, essentially, I started learning about hypnosis and NLP when I was 16 years old. And so for me, it was about performance. I was a baseball player. I was highly touted at high school, went to South Alabama, played Division I baseball, was drafted by the White Sox. But for me, it was personal performance. But the more I learned about it, the more I read about it, I started realizing that it could be something I could help others with. And it was something that kind of intrigued me. So I learned about hypnosis. I learned about NLP from a lot of the same guys that Tony Robbins learned from. And it just became a personal passion for me that translated into developing skill sets in the area of sports psychology and hypnotherapy. And then it worked into the clinical side. I actually worked in the medical field for some time. For me, that was kind of an interest for personal growth, but it also allowed me to work with other people. As a byproduct of the skill set, I started doing shows on the side just because it was a way to make extra money. And I got pretty good at it, I guess, because one day I was doing a show at the Beau Rivage Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi, and the guy came up to me and said, "Hey, I got a place in Vegas. I'd love you to come do some shows out there for me." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And when a guy says he'll write you a check for more than you've ever made in a month for 1 hour, you go. And so I went out there, and we had some success. And what that allowed me to do is build a successful stage show in Vegas, and obviously travel the world. And that freed me up to chat, to take on some of these new challenges. But it was always a byproduct of the skill set. It was never the focus. It just, I guess I'm a pretty funny guy. I got a good stage presence. I'm pretty good at hypnotizing people. I've probably hypnotized over 100,000 people. But my passion has always been personal improvement and helping people turn that light on for better, be better than your best is my goal. And so that's how it all kind of came together for me.
So what if someone says, "You can't hypnotize me"?
I
How
just
do you
ask,
respond?
I just say, "Are you married?" And if they say yes, I say, "You've been hypnotized already." It's all right. It's a given. But the thing about it is, man, is that hypnosis is not a mystical state. I mean, it's been around for since the Dark Ages. We have hieroglyphics on the Greek, the temples that show a state of trance. And if you think about it, when you go into a movie or when you're in a concert, it's a well-known fact that our brain goes into what we call an altered state of consciousness. The word hypnosis is really a misnomer. Hypnos was the god of sleep. You're not asleep at all. You're wide awake. I can't make people jump around on stage and do funny things if they're asleep, right? But we go through that state throughout the day several times. And so what I'm actually doing is taking people out of their normal everyday waking state and putting them into a more focused state. You talked about the greatest mental game. I'll tell you something interesting. In the program, we talk about the book Think Like Tiger by John Androsani. That book outlined what Tiger did and what his dad did when he was training him when he was a kid. And he had a gentleman that was working with him out in Dr. Jay Brunza, was working with Tiger specifically using hypnosis from the time Tiger was 13 years old. Dr. Brunza also caddied for Tiger through his amateur career. He could literally put Tiger into trance in a second or two. Same thing I do on stage. And what that showed me was, and that's where I started really learning about how I could apply this to golf, was basically taking the model of what they did with Tiger and applying it to the masses so they could learn from those opportunities of what he was doing and what other players such as Ben Hogan and Bobby Jones, even the guys back in the day, they had processes, but they were really misunderstood. This allowed me to bring some clarity to the what he did and then build a program around that mindset and that principle that your mind is the most important club you have. And if you can't get that one dialed in, the rest of them don't matter.
Man, that's cool. So tell me about your time and your experience working with Zig Ziglar. Like that doesn't seem like something a lot of people can say they've done.
I grew up listening to Zig Ziglar from Yazoo City, Mississippi. Yeah, funny story. I was 15 years old, and my grandfather tossed me a book in a rainstorm, and I was complaining about the fact that I couldn't do anything outside. And he said, "Take this book and read it, kid." I read it, and I read the whole thing in a day. And at the end of the book, it said the bonus chapter. And the bonus chapter was talking about the subconscious and how you have to program yourself for success and program yourself for improvement. And it sparked that little, hey, this is kind of neat, right? And then in Mobile, Alabama in 1984, there aren't a lot of guys doing hypnosis. So I kind of started down the path of learning about it. Of course, the internet's changed a lot of things for learning, but at that time, there wasn't anybody in Alabama doing hypnosis unless they wanted to be scooted out of town with pitchforks and, and chased out of town, tarred and feathered. But that's how it started for me. I was reading a book about Zig, from Zig, and then I met him a year later, and he signed a book for me. And long story short, he came to Vegas a few years ago for a company I was working with to develop virtual training, and I told him the story, and he remembered me. He called me Mr. Alphabet. As you know, my name has 11 letters in the last name. And so Zig and I actually communicated on a couple of occasions, and he was the guy that actually inspired me to become a motivational speaker and trainer. And that's the story. That's how it happened.
That's really cool. So based on your experience, what is the biggest mental challenge golfers are faced with?
The biggest mental challenge that most golfers are faced with, in my opinion, is not knowing how to apply any mental principles at all. I mean, most of them go out and buy a nice set of clubs. They learn how to hit the ball, and they hit some decent shots. But to me, the biggest challenge is it's a lot of misinformation, right? It's confusing. When you boil it down, Ricky, it's just like anything else. I mean, what you don't know is what's costing you the strokes, right? And so what we try to do is give them an understanding of basic principles, not only how the brain works, but ways you can help to train yourself. So I think the biggest challenge for most golfers is just understanding how simple concepts can help you shave a few strokes off your game. I mean, better course management, better risk management, being in the present moment and not thinking about the shot that just went in the water or the shot that you might not make next. You have to live in this moment right here. That shot hadn't happened yet, and the one that you just hit's already over with. So simple concepts will help them to shave a few strokes. I mean, you and I both know you make a few better shots, a few better holes, with a couple putts or a couple drives, hit the fairway instead of hitting a driver, hit a 3-wood and stay in the fairway instead of taking it into the woods. Little decisions make big differences, and that's what wins championships. And so when you start to learn the game that way, you stop trying to overpower yourself and overpower the ball in the club, you can start to play golf. And I think that's the biggest challenge is most guys go out with a stick and a ball and they start hitting things. And you got to change your mind to change your game. So that's how I think we can help people with that because that's what we start with.
Just so you know, one of those, you said about 4 different things there that I want to tweet, but I'm going to tweet a couple of those later because some of those, like just the way that I'm starting to think about my swing and that's a good segue into this next question. So when is the best time to be listening to the program? And is there a benefit to listening to the program right before you tee off? And I can think that it would maybe depend on the golfer, but is there anything that you've seen in the people that have gone through the program of when they should listen to it?
Yeah, well, as far as the audiobook modules, they can listen to those anytime. They can listen to those anytime in the car, in a plane, in a hotel room, at home, wherever. As far as the vintage tracks, those do use special music, some other technologies that guide the brain. So we don't want them driving, a car while they're listening to it. But to me, I have them listen to it at least once a day, preferably before they go to bed. But in times of competition or practice, or when they're really dialing in for a tournament or performance, I ask them to listen to it before they go out to the tournament because I want their mind to be in an alpha theta rhythm state. I want their body to be relaxed and tension free. And I want them to be in a positive mindset and breathing correctly and visualizing and sensing correctly. And sometimes you got to take everything out of the equation. You got to basically reset the mind. And so by listening to the program, it's 25 minutes of stress relaxation. It's guided imagery. It's visualization. It's lowering your heart rate, lowering your muscle tension. When you go out and you're relaxed and you're calm, you can certainly play better golf than you can when you're tense and worried and more anxiety driven. So to me, it's listening to it as often as possible, but at least once before you go to bed and once before you go out and play or practice.
Now, doesn't alcohol also do that? I think beer helps me get a little bit more loose. And
it depends. I mean, sometimes I throw a shot at a couple of guys and just tell them, forget the mental edge, just drink. But
so should golfers be actively thinking about the techniques while they're on the golf course, or should they be more trusting their brain that has been trained by the visualization that this program has produced? So is it something that I'm on the golf course and I'm on the 3rd hole and I made a bogey? Am I thinking about this, or does it just all become a part of my psyche?
Well, the answer is actually it's a very good question, Ricky. The answer is simply this. You need to practice visualizing, and you can play golf in your head with your eyes closed. And you can sit back and imagine yourself on a first tee. You can see yourself over the ball. Some people see themselves over the ball. People see themselves like they're a director in a movie looking at themselves. But when you're on the course, it really is time to just relax, and you got to have an attitude of gratitude. I'm playing golf today. I'm on a beautiful golf course with some buddies. I'm having a good time. No matter what happens, this is better than a day at the office, right? And when you approach it from that mindset, when you get over the ball, that's not the time to think about the grip and the swing and the swing plane and the ball placement. You've got to get behind the ball and make all those conscious decisions first. You got to decide, what club am I going to use? What ball flight am I trying to create? Where do I want this ball to go? How high, how low? All those are conscious elements of your decision-making process. When you stop and you make those decisions, when you step across what I call the think box, play box, which is what Pia and Lynn teaches, 54, Vision 54. When you go from thinking about the conscious elements, you've got to take a deep breath, see what you want, sense it, shoot it. Go up there and do it. And if you don't do it, evaluate what happened, but don't analyze because you'll get in your own way. You'll short circuit your ability to perform. And when you can do that, you'll be able to play better golf.
So the video on your website on the homepage that I see right there above the fold is awesome. It looks so well done. Who created that for you? Who wrote that script? And kind of talk me through where that came from.
That's a great question. First and foremost, I have to give all the credit for everything you see and hear on this program to my partner, Dallas Houston in Vegas. He does all the graphics, all the video editing. I write the scripts. I design the graphics. I design the elements. He builds it, puts it together, edits it, and we're a team. Everything's done in-house. We have our own in-house studio. We have our own in-house audio program, and everything we do is done by our team internally.
Wow, that is really cool. I mean, yeah. I mean, how many videos have you created then over? I mean, that looks unbelievably professionally done.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, in the program, we have 12 videos for the 10 steps to get you in the zone program. And then a lot of the other programs are audio, quite simply because you don't need to be watching me talk when I'm guiding you through a process. So I wanted to make sure that was dialed in. And that way there, it's really focused in, when your eyes are closed, I don't want you doing anything but letting yourself go, letting your subconscious mind learn, and letting your body relax. So we've done probably over the course of the promotional videos and the actual course videos, 15 to 20 videos. There's probably a good 40 audios, and then there's a lot of other support content. So quite a bit of content, as you've seen. It'd be the equivalent of 12 hours. Somebody would have come see me for 12 hours. It'd be $275 a session, right? This gives them the opportunity to get that 12 hours of coaching online, 24/7, anywhere in the world for less than the cost of a driver. And that's really I'm really proud of the fact that we can offer that kind of training to someone for that kind of price, because quite honestly, everybody needs something to help their game. I didn't want to just be 6 or 8 guys I work with on a monthly basis. I wanted to be able to help millions. And so that's why I put Mental Edge Golf together in the way we put it together.
Wow. So our half an hour is almost over, but I got one more question from Eat Sleep Golf. And they said, what characteristics do you see in elite golfers that higher handicappers might be lacking? And that's, again, it's going back to thinking the guy at home that shoots 15 over on a Friday afternoon after work to the PGA Tour player that's shooting 6 under par. So what characteristics do you see in elite players that higher handicaps are missing?
Well, it's interesting because I read a quote from Steve Jobs this morning on Facebook, and it said, if a person has a true commitment and a passion for a vision, you don't have to push that person. The vision pulls them, right? So great players have a commitment to improving their process. They have an improvement process mentally. They're willing to experiment. They're willing to take risks. They're willing to try new things. They're willing to listen to others who have experience and maybe learn a new technique or a new way to take the science of golf and then apply their personal characteristics to it, their personal style to it. I mean, you look at someone like Adam Scott or Tiger or Jordan, who has almost a picture-perfect swing. And then you look at someone like Tim Furyk, who doesn't have a picture-perfect swing, but he has a great process. To me, the difference between the two is quite honestly the amount of time and energy that they put into developing their game as a balanced game, mentally and physically. The amount of time they practice on the things that they're not good at to get better. They practice their weaknesses, not their strengths. And they understand that this is a process game. No one's ever hit a perfect score in golf. So you have to have those mental processes, and you have to have some really good technique, and you have to have someone working with you that has a good understanding of your style, your abilities, and your commitment, so you can identify your objectives and go towards your goals the best way you can, because a lot of us have jobs and other commitments. We're not professional players. So the professional players have that luxury. They just go for it. And when they get to the level where they can practice and play all the time, that's where you get where they are. And for those that aren't, you can practice when you're not on the course by using our program and visualizing, and we teach you how to do that.
Man, that is awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talk about this. I mean, there is so much more I want to ask you, and I really hope that you and I can stay connected offline. And I encourage you to get into the Google Plus golf community and start posting and start engaging with golfers, because there's over 20,000 people in there that I know they want to hear about this stuff. And I'm thinking as you're talking through this, I play a lot of golf with a guy named Matt, and even he and I have conversations about the mental side of the game, and I can't imagine that he wouldn't benefit from some of the things that you're saying. I know that I'm going to, and I really look forward to kind of the future and what's to come with our relationships. But before I do let you go, we have this little segment called the lightning round, and it's just nine fun. And I used to say that it was the lightning round because it was fast, and I don't do that anymore. So it's just 9 fun questions about you and golf. And
okay,
and you're ready because you want me to start. So what is your current handicap?
My current handicap is about
handicap,
14.
Please.
14 is about where I'm at right now.
Okay, so you spent some time in Vegas. There are a bunch of them to choose from. What is your favorite restaurant in Las Vegas?
Favorite restaurant, Little Buddha at the Palms.
Ooh, you had it right off the bat. Look at you.
Damn. When you eat there 500 times after a show,
Have you ever had an ace?
Yes, 3.
You're a 14 and you've had 3.
Look me up. Type in Thom Kaz, Thom Kaz, hole in one. I did 2 of them at tournaments. One of them was at the GoDaddy tournament. I'll tell you a quick story. They told me I'd won a car, a Range Rover, and I thought it was awesome. And I got in and they said, no, you didn't win the Range Rover. You won a box of tailor-made balls. That was the other hole. But yeah, I have 3. And just to be honest with you, I didn't start really focusing on the game of golf until 6 years ago. So in 6 years, I have 3 documented aces, brother.
Do me a favor and share your next one with me because
It
I haven't
works.
had one, and I'm looking for one. And I'm looking
Well,
for it.
you need to get my program.
What golf ball are you currently playing?
I play Strixon.
What is the best golf course you've ever played?
Best golf course I've ever played, probably, I'd have to say Valley High in Vegas probably is the nicest one I've played. There's a lot, but that's the one I really kind of enjoy playing.
Okay. Now, it might be the same answer, but what is your favorite golf course that you've ever played? You could maybe have only played it once. What is
Yeah.
your favorite golf course?
You know, I'm fortunate because I live here in Alabama at the moment. I kind of commute between here and Las Vegas. And here in Alabama, we have this amazing place called the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. And we have some pretty nice courses. And one of the courses I enjoy playing is the Magnolia Grove course, even though it's in my hometown here. They do play some LPGA events there, and it's just a nice course. Got a lot of hills, a lot of undulations, and a lot of water. And it's just a fun course to play. It's very challenging, but it's doable. It's gettable.
Awesome answer. What is your favorite? Not what. Who is your favorite LPGA Tour player? LPGA, not PGA.
I gotta go with Natalie Goldwyn.
Yeah, that's a popular answer.
Yeah, fortunately, again, she lives in Lake Las Vegas and she works with Butch. And being a Las Vegas guy, we kind of bounced into each other a few times. I enjoyed meeting her and talking with her, and it was a lot of fun.
This isn't a question as much as a statement, so you might even know this guy. I have all your time in Vegas. Next week's guest is a very good friend of mine, teaching pro, and he used to be at TPC Las Vegas, Brandon Stooksbury. Do you know him by chance?
You know what? I think I do recall the name when I was doing a lot of the programs out there, at Callaway Golf, but I don't know him personally.
Well, maybe we can make an introduction and you two.
Not a problem. Let's do it.
Okay,
I got back from Vegas yesterday, so I could have been, last week we could have done that. But
well, he's not in Vegas anymore. He's moved to a new locale. He just wrote a new book that is the point of him coming on the Wednesday match play next week, and I look forward to catching up with him. It's always good to see him and chat with him. So
I appreciate
now,
that.
Normally I ask the question, will Tiger break Jack's record? But I'm not asking that this week, and I didn't ask this last week. Do you think, because he has until Wednesday night at midnight to say yay or nay, do you think Tiger plays in the Masters?
I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to play. I don't know if he's, a lot of people have come to me about him, and I've even tried to reach out to Tiger and say, look, your skills aren't the problem. It's your head game. And it's ever since that situation a few years ago. But Tiger's confidence has tremendously waned. And I think he's kind of got that little bitty air of doubt. And I don't think he wants to go out and do anything less than be Tiger again. And I think he's been embarrassed to the point of not really wanting to put himself out there until he's completely and totally ready. I think he's going to pass. I really think he's going to wait until he feels a little more confident.
That's a good answer, and I have to agree. I don't even know if he shows up either. I don't think he could be there and not be in the field, and it'd be the same for him.
Yeah, no, for any of us, it's like myself. I mean, like you talked about, me going to Las Vegas and watching another show, I want to jump up on there and do something crazy, right? But
absolutely,
it's a lot of fun, and for all your viewers tonight, first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show. Thank them for taking the time tonight and in the future to watch this. Anybody that's interested tonight in this program, I'm going to give them $100 off. I'm going to pay for your next round of golf, basically. I want to extend that to you as well, Ricky. I'm going to actually hook you up for free, brother. I'm going to make you a Mental Edge golf client tonight for free. It'll be in your studio box tonight. You'll be having access in less than 10 minutes. So we're going to do that, and we get everybody else $100 off our normal price. So
that might be the coolest offer. Like, wow, that is really cool. I had no idea you were going to do that. That is awesome. So thank you for doing that.
Well, you know what? It's about helping people play better, and our goal is to help you get the edge in your game. So if you guys out there are interested, reach out to me and let me know, and I'll help you out, and we'll get something going, some score.
Well, you almost ended that perfectly, but I got to have one more question. What's next?
What's next? For Mental Edge Golf, we are embarking on a potential opportunity with an agency that's going to put us on the Golf Channel, doing some things with the guys that work with Hank Haney and Haney Blueprint and Tour Striker. And I shared with you something. I'm going to be looking for people that are interested in becoming certified Mental Edge Golf instructors to train them to take our system and our tools that we use for computer feedback and biofeedback, and literally creating a Mental Edge Golf network of instructors to add revenue to their businesses. But, golf entrepreneurs, guys that want to take something with golf, maybe they don't want to do their corporate job anymore. We want to create a national network of Mental Edge Golf coaches and support our online effort with personal coaching. So that's my next step. Thanks for asking.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate this. I really do encourage you to get active in the golf community. And as always, the episodes are presented by Eat Sleep Golf, and I like to usually end with Eat Sleep Golf. And I'm not going to do that anymore because I always want the guest to get the last word. And I know you're a Twitter user, so in 140 characters or less, send us home with why I need what you have.
If you're out there right now and you're asking yourself a question, how can I lower my scores? It's really simple. You have to learn how to be the best you can be. And the way you do that is to understand certain principles and concepts that allow you to make better decisions, lose the tension, and hit the shots without worrying about the outcome. You just got to go out there and play the game. And if you have fun, play the game, we can help you out.
That was way more than 140 characters, but that's okay. I'm going to let it slide this time.
I couldn't count quick enough there.
That's all. 140 words, maybe. I love it. Hey, we'll be back next week with Brandon Stooksbury for his brand new book, The Wedge Book. And thank you very much for joining us this evening. And remember, eat, sleep, golf.
I do.